Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another fantastic presentation. I'm super excited to have with us today Marianna Lead, who is the founder and executive director of Goal Imagery Institute. She is an internationally recognized master certified coach and a credentialing portfolio assessor with the International Coaching Federation. And like I said, she's the founder and the executive director of Goal Imagery Institute, International School of Coaching Mastery, a leading global provider of ICF-accredited coach training and mentoring programs. Her popular Holistic Life, Career and Executive Coach Training program is currently taught online in 6 different languages around the world. And she has designed a number of courses at the New York University, teaching a multitude of coaching courses at NYU as master's degrees and certificate program levels. She's been working with the Smithsonian Institute, with Fitness Magazine. She's been collaborated with Dr. Candace Pert, who is a best-selling author of Molecules of Emotion. She appeared on Live Coach TV on Manhattan Cable in New York City, as well as she appeared on Life Coach Radio and Progressive Radio. She's also been working with NBC. And among her clients, you can find Ernst & Young, American Airlines, and government agencies, including FEMA. In this presentation, Marianna will talk about the path, or your path to becoming a masterful coach. She has a tremendous amount of expertise and knowledge in this field. She's been doing this for over 20 years. So when she talks about your path to becoming a masterful coach, I know that she knows what she's talking about. So let us all perk our ears and pay attention to Marianna. And thank you so much for saying yes to our invitation for the summit. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for this heartwarming introduction. I just want to say that I'm coming from an acting field, and I actually didn't just appear on those shows. I actually hosted and produced the Life Coach TV and Life Coach Radio in Manhattan on cable, and I was doing it for quite a few years until ICF New York City chapter took it off my hands, and I taught other board members how to do this. At the time when I was on the board of directors as a president of ICF NYC, that was many years ago, and here I am trying to give back everything that I've gathered so far, because my journey to masterful coaching wasn't easy, and I know that it is even now quite controversial. So I had quite a few mentors, and my issue was that every single person was giving me a different feedback. And so I didn't know what's right and what's wrong, what to do and what not to do. And of course, now we're becoming much more focused on what to do, the coaching behavior specifically. We have documents now that we didn't have before.
Yeah.
But as an assessor, all assessors, not just me, we still rely heavily on the table of core competencies. And this table compares ICF core competencies from ACC to PCC and to MCC. And this progression shows the difference in attitude and in difference in thinking. And I think that speaking about that would be interesting not only to coaches who are beginning their journey, but also coaches who want to continue their journey, as well as people who have nothing, who have no education whatsoever and not even sure if they want to become a coach in related professions, maybe psychologists and, or other or social workers or teachers or other professions that are kind of neighboring professions to coaching. And I think that it starts with me kind of sharing with everyone what I find different about coaching overall. So I think that there's one thing that doesn't happen in any other industry. Okay. And the thing is actually rooted in one specific competency. And that competency is called establishing the coaching agreement. And so we're going to be talking about that specifically by looking at what it means and what it means at an MCC level. By the way, MCC, for those who don't know, stands for Master Certified Coach. And so when people come to me and they don't know anything about coaching, I tell them, if you are tired of other people telling you how to think, what to think, how to live your life, what to do, you're in the right place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not knocking down consultants or mentors. I think that they're very much needed, absolutely. And yet, according to neuroscience, now we know even why coaching works. According to neuroscience, the more sustainable way to move forward, and maybe even the quickest way to move forward, is when we put together our own map. And when we understand from that what we need to do. Because when people understand and have clarity, that's where this aha moment happens. And once we have clarity, our clients are smart. You and I were smart people. We can figure out what to do. And even if we don't know exactly what to do, once we have clarity, we can come to those consultants. We can come to those mentors and even ask, what would be, here's the situation, I'm clear about this, and I need some external help. And then you can get that external help.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to share my screen right now. And we're just going to go through the difference between mastery and other things. So here it is. Here it is. It was created in 2009, but it's just as important as it was when it was created. So I'm going to go through through competencies that are being directly assessed when people submit their coaching recordings with transcriptions for ICF evaluation. I mean, nowadays with levels, we have level 1 and we have level 2. When you enroll with programs that provide those certificates, you won't have to send those recordings, your coaching recordings, directly to ICF, but you will still have to do it at your school. So one way or the other, you're going to be evaluated. But I have seen so many different sessions. So I heard so many different sessions. I've seen so many different transcripts. And all I can tell you is that Masterful level, the one thing that's going to differentiate Masterful level from all of the other levels, the one most important thing is the depth of your partnership, listening, and being present. And so let's look at establishing the coaching agreement. So establishing the coaching agreement is not only establishing expectations as you do in any contract. It is also a part of coaching behavior in every coaching session. So as you look at MCC level, and it's really the only level that we look at my school when I teach my students, because we want to teach immediately from the most effective way to look at things. And we look at other things, other levels, only from the point of comparison. It's almost like, here's what to do, and the other levels are like what not to do, right? And so if I read this, coach explores fully what client wants from session. So from each coaching session, we want to understand what your client wants. And establishing measures of success for client in session means that you know what is possible, not afterwards as a result of the coaching session, but what is possible by the end of the coaching session. And that is a very important distinction, because people are going to gain value even if you say absolutely nothing. If you sit there and nod and show your participation with your body language, and you can test me, you can check it out, experiment and do that. And people will still find value because they're going to be able to process their thoughts out loud. There's some magic kind of happens when we know that there is an expectation on the other side from someone who is interested, who's genuinely interested. And you are going to, and the client is going to come up with some value, with some insights regardless. But that could happen when you have a session with psychologists, with a mentor, with your priest, with a rabbi, right?
Yeah.
You know, coaching is different because here, right with this competency, the client is empowered to create magic with the coach, because you are wishing as a client what is going to happen within or by the end of the coaching session time. So you're literally predicting, here, I want something, I want something, and I'm going to make sure that I'm going to get it done with my coach. So it's like, part of it is like almost, well, it's extremely empowering because there are not that many areas and instances when you could say, okay, I want something and I'm sure I'm gonna get it done. But here, this is exactly what's happening. You're going to wish for it and you're going to get it, and you're going to get it really soon, because the coaching session is either half an hour, 45 minutes, 50 minutes. Well, actually, it's not 50 minutes because then we would be competing with psychology, but it would be an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, whatever your coaching time is.
Let me actually, since we stumble a bit on this particular topic here, what is the median, the average coaching session, and then what is too long of a coaching session from your experience?
Well, I think that, again, Masterful coaching is a communication based on really deep partnership. So I think that you as a coach must be aware of what is your personal preferences, right? So how much time do you feel that you need to really get something done with your client? We all have different biological kind of a set of time, right? And so, and that's 50% of it, because it's a 50-50 partnership. And the other part of it is the preference of your client. So when I meet up with my clients, my personal preference is 1 hour. And I say, well, usually I work with clients in 1 hour long coaching sessions on a weekly basis. But it's extremely individual, and I'd like to hear your preferences. What you want, what would work for you, and it depends on my clients' learning style, their time availability, how much they're able to focus for how long, and all of other things. So we figure it out together in partnership, just like everything and anything else that happens in coaching.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for that clarification.
Absolutely. And so, and by the way, this is exactly what we do in class, right? I love questions. I think all good teachers love questions, because questions show me, right? Because questions show me that you're actually interested, that you're listening, that you want to learn. And what else can I possibly ask for? Right. So one thing that you're going to notice in the MCC level throughout all core competencies is that this graph is going to use the word completely or fully a lot, because everything that an MCC coach does, we do it thoroughly. There is no sense of rushing. There's a sense of almost like serenity. There is no attachment. And we want to explore fully because we truly, genuinely want to learn about our client, about their
Yeah.
desires, their beliefs, right, where they're coming from, and what's important for them. And so if I compare this quickly to PCC, it says coach takes what client says they want to work on and attends to the agenda with some exploration versus explores fully. And here's the difference right here. You know, some exploration versus explores fully. And I have to say that, unfortunately, this table is understood by most schools because it's used as a teaching device to teach people to go for ACC or PCC. We use it as a teaching device as well, but we only look at MCC portion of it to show what to do, what are the best, most effective ways to move forward. And this just to assess, because clearly someone who is beginning their journey, they're not going to be able to be at an MCC level right away. But what you can do, you can start thinking from that perspective. Right? But if you think that this is okay, then you're not going to strive towards, right? If you think that to explore it just a little bit is okay, then you're not going to strive toward the best behavior, right? So that's like a little bit of a comment that I wanted also to clear about. And so now also coach returns to check regularly, right? Of whether direction of coaching is continuing to serve clients' coaching purpose and makes changes in direction if necessary, based on feedback from client. Again, what does it speak to? It speaks to a really deep partnership and respect, right? I mean, partnership is rooted in deep respect. So I want to make sure that my client determines where to go, right? My students sometimes ask me, well, you know, I'm not sure if I should go this way or I should go that way in the within the coaching session, because, you know, it could develop two different ways, you know. And I say, well, that's a clear indication that you must ask your client, and the client will be able to determine which way to go. And so we have to really keep our ear to the ground to understand what the direction may be and keep checking. Then, of course, you know, it's an art. It's an art form. I'm not talking about stopping every like 5 minutes regularly. It's like, excuse me, knock, knock. I need to check right now because otherwise I'm not a masterful coach, right? That's ridiculous. So I'm not saying that. I'm saying that just remember to check in. Remember to remember that the client came in with a specific thing in mind. And even though it can fluctuate and it can change, because sometimes people come in, actually a lot of times, people come in thinking that they know what they want, and then it evolves, plateaus into something completely different, right? But you have to notice it, because people are going to process out loud, and they may not even notice themselves how they switch from one topic to the next. They may not even consciously be aware if these topics are connected, if there is a common thread between them or not. And so our job as a coach, as a masterful coach, is not to choose a direction, but to notice it and simply bring it to our clients' awareness. And there's a big difference from taking charge and saying, okay, I know what to do here, and let's move in this direction, like you would do in any other profession pretty much, right? Versus saying, hey, I'm noticing there's this difference. We're talking about that, now we're talking about this, and how is this connecting for you, right? Is a huge difference. I think that it only happens in coaching. It just doesn't happen anywhere else.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I think it's also one thing to remember is that we need to be mindful not to be attached. So we're not bringing it up in order to discipline our clients. Like I hear at the ACC, PCC level, when people come to our schools, we do accept training credits from other schools. So sometimes we will have a student who has a PCC level or ACC level. And they're just going to tell me, well, you know, I want to make sure that my client is focused. I want to focus my client. And it sounds very disciplinary. And there is no partnership.
Bring the whip out.
Right, exactly. And it's not what we want. It's not part of our job. And we cannot be attached to the outcome that the client wants. And I know in our culture, and when I say our culture, I guess I mean Western world in general, people feel that if you have a goal, you should really stick to it. And it's almost like a crime to change a goal, but it's completely fine. You know, I want to give permission to my clients to change their goal midstream, however they want it, however they like it, as long as they're conscious of it. So my only job is just simply bring awareness to my client about it and completely leave any attachments to what they're going to decide to do with it. Yeah. So that's about establishing the coaching agreement. I don't know how many competencies we'll be able to go through, but we'll be able to
just
go through
as many as we can.
As many as we can, exactly. So trust and well, again, this is old, right? Now they change it to trust and safety, which is a better way to put it. But it means the exact same thing. So the stipulations here, the bullet points really do not change. So it's really about that deep level of trust. And the one thing that I appreciate the most out of all of these bullet points is this one. So coach is confident in self, process, and the client as a full partner in the relationship. I actually use it as a litmus test because a lot of times my students ask, is this a coaching client? Should I refer my client to a psychologist or a therapist? And so, well, this is it. Are you confident in yourself as a coach? Are you confident in the process? And are you confident in your client as a full partner in this relationship? If you're not confident in your client as a full partner, then you have to refer them. And I don't know if you may have to refer them to a therapist or maybe to another coach who feel differently. Maybe your energies don't mesh, right? But we cannot go into let me save my client, let me rescue my client, let me help them to see, and I want them. So when I ask my students, so what is going on here? And if they start, I want him or her, I can stop them right there. Anything that comes after that is not important because now I'm hearing that they have their own agenda. Now I hear that they want to lead their client to something, to something, instead of just simply bringing to their clients awareness, what is actually happening, what they're observing, what they're sensing, what they're seeing, so that the client may see maybe a different perspective, but still have a full capacity. And I'm trusting that capacity to make the right decision. If I don't have the belief that my client is capable of making the right decision for themselves, that's not my client. It's just as simple as that, right? And
but so does this have to do with you or with the client? Because somehow, for some people, this is like a blanket statement, so to speak, like, hey, I blindly believe that all of my clients can X, Y, Z. Or I'm looking at this client, he comes with this issue, but as far as I can tell, he is not actually able to do much of a change because I can see the level of where he's at this moment.
It's an excellent question. I think that both your perception and your client's perception are equally important, again, because it's a 50-50 partnership. So in this bullet point phrase, sentence, it really refers to your perception as a coach. If you perceive your client, I mean, there are other bullet points here, as you see, right? But if you perceive your client as someone that you need to save, rescue, then there's no partnership. Where's partnership?
Yeah.
If there is no full partnership, you cannot coach that person. And it may be justified, right? It may be absolutely justified because coaching is not for everyone. And sometimes coaching may not be for someone in that period of their life. It may be, they may be open to coaching and they may be a good client, but maybe just not right now, or maybe not specifically on that topic. That's, you know, that's maybe right. So it's all very, very individual. But again, you're bringing yourself fully. Your client, in order to open up and trust you and trust the process, you have to come in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only logical to be able to come in with that level of trust in yourself and the process and your client, right?
Yeah.
So if you're lacking that, then nothing good is going to come out of that. You're going to be saving your client, you're going to be rescuing, you're going to be asking leading questions. And it's going to turn into consulting much quicker than, you know, I mean, we're not supposed to be consulting, period.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Got it. Very comprehensive. I like this.
Well, okay, great. Thank you. And so, by the way, this is what we do. It's like almost our like first or second lesson, because this is a really good way to understand the landscape. And another thing that I think is also important, I'm going to throw it in here, is not to talk about niching from the very beginning of the course, especially because people cannot possibly choose their orientation or niche when they hardly even know what coaching is. And I actually never chose a niche, and I'm absolutely fine. You know, I'm practicing coach and I'm an educator, and everything is, you know, well in my world. And so I think that it's important to notice and to remember that ICF doesn't look at niches. ICF doesn't care about what type of topic you're coaching anyone on. The competencies are created for any topic. So you just do your thing, you do your coaching thing that you're learning to do, and then you'll be fine. And that's why, regardless what topic your client brings, if you learn all of these things, all of these amazing competencies, then you can be confident in yourself and you can be confident in your coaching process, right? So coach is connected and complete trust in new and mutual state of awareness. It can only arise in the moment and out of joint conversation. Again, partnership. Coach is comfortable not knowing. It's one of the best states to expand awareness in. A lot of
wait. This is a big issue for so many people. You know, that sentence right there, it's like you throw them the biggest punch in the world.
Yes.
So that is
Totally.
that is like the golden rule. That is like one of the 10 commandments, if you will, for the coach to be comfortable with not knowing. However, not knowing brings so much insecurity and brings so much uncertainty. How do you deal with that?
It literally brings anxiety to students.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, what should I do
Absolutely.
next? I have no idea what.
Exactly. And this is one of those things that when you know what to expect, how to think about it, it helps, but you're not going to be able to perform at that level immediately, right? But just knowing this is where you're going to end up makes you feel better and you understand the perspective. So clearly you're going to be full of anxiety when you're a new coach, but you're going to be saying to yourself, breathe, it's going to be okay.
You will survive.
I will survive. It's okay that I don't know. And the justification also helps, because justification is actually very simple, because who knows themselves better than the clients?
Yeah.
Right? No one. So we come in that kind of a naivete, not knowing, and it's okay that I don't know because I don't know you,
Yeah.
and I don't know. There's not one human being that knows themselves fully, and much less someone outside of them. So it's very different from consulting, because when you come from consulting, people come to you to consult on something that you're an expert in, and that's something external.
Yeah.
And so if I know, for instance, it could be also a skill set. Like, for instance, I'm really good at presentational skills, right? So I could be coaching, but not in the sense of ICF type of coaching, but I could be coaching in a sense of like athletic coaching, skill type of coaching, someone who wants to be presenting something.
Yeah.
And if I'm doing that, then I am then I better know what I'm saying. I better know what direction to give. But if it's something internal, I have no clue, right? Because I don't know how anyone else feels. I don't read someone's minds, right? So that's where we're coming from. We're coming from, you're not coming to me because I'm a coach. You're not coming to me for consultation. And the questions I'm going to be asking you are about your thoughts, are about your feelings, and who can possibly know them better than you? Who can possibly organize your thoughts better than you? I can help you by certain questions. I can help you even by sharing my perspective, which is another competence that we're going to get to, right? But I'm not going to be telling you, because it's not my place to, and it's ridiculous to expect that I would know what to tell you in terms of your feelings or your thoughts.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where it's all coming from. But actually, if you look at PCC level, it's very interesting. If you come just for the comparison, as a chuckle, you could see that coach is still conscious of presenting image of a good coach. So less willing to risk or not, which stands in the way of complete trust. And intimacy with the coach itself, the client, and the coaching relationship, right? So, but if you're aware that this is an obstacle, it's not how you should be, but it's actually an obstacle to how you would like to be, then you can view this as a temporary knowing and learning curve.
Very interesting.
Right. So, okay, these are things also, and sense of complete ease and naturalness. Well, of course, it's not going to appear right away. It's also something that you have to kind of live through and experience, and then it's going to show up for you, right? I mean, it's not an accident that ICF requires 2,500 of hours before you can even apply to become an MCC coach.
How many hours again?
That's 2,500 hours of experience.
So that's 2,500 hours of working one-on-one with clients, or how is that being calculated?
Well, with clients, we actually have a template from ICF, and we document each client, each quarter of an hour that we spend with each client. And we want, whether it's pro bono or whether it's paid, they're very strict about all of these kind of regulations and requirements. But the good thing that I tell my students, when you become an MCC, you can burn all of those papers. You can create a ritual, you can just burn them, and it doesn't matter anymore. An MCC is an MCC, and that's it, and you're free. But it's something to
hallelujah.
All right. So coaching presence echoes trust and the safety a lot. And I read it to my students because sometimes it's good to hear kind of the same thing from a bit of a different perspective. But as you see that those bullet points are going to really kind of echo things that we already read out loud. And what it brings me to is to this kind of holistic connectedness of ICF competencies and how they work with each other, right? I mean, you can't have presence if you don't do some of the other competencies, right? It's impossible. Yeah. You can't have coaching presence if you don't have trust. And if you can't provide a safe environment for your clients, for instance, the one that we just looked a second ago. Right. So maybe I could look at this one. The coach evidences a complete curiosity that is undiluted by a need to perform. Because I just read the PCC level where there's a desire to impress. There's desire to make sure that the client knows that you're bringing value. And at an MCC level, it's not that we don't care. It's just the confidence level is so high that we can relax and be ourselves, right? And so, and here, the conversation is about curiosity and what it means, because that is also a topic that is misunderstood often. So I'm not really into a curiosity that is an informational type of curiosity. I'm not interested in details of an event. I'm not interested in who said what to whom, when, anything like that. My curiosity strictly stays with what my client thinks, what my client feels, what my client believes in, what my client desires to achieve, how my client sees the future develop. All of those wonderful personal, deeply personal things, those are the things that I'm curious about, things that define who my client is. That's what I'm really, really curious about. And that is really important to remember, you know.
And so I have a question here. You know, the different levels, ACC, PCC, MCC, you know, what you just described now, it's more like someone assessing me how much I, quote unquote, don't care what, you know, what the situation is. How do you measure this? How do you differentiate? How do you figure out if I actually am very interested or I'm not interested at all in the outcome? How do you do that?
Right. So we're talking about coaches, right? We're talking about coaching behavior. So how do I know? I know by the type of questions you're going to ask as a coach. That's how I evaluate. That's how I evaluate. I don't evaluate the client's responses as an assessor. I evaluate what you do as a coach, right? Sometimes we may ask a question of a client and the client may not even hear the question and kind of continue with their own thinking. But I'm not evaluating what the client does. I'm evaluating what the coach does. Right. So
you yourself as an assessor have a very, very clear criteria, right, for this. And because of that, then you can use that criteria to assess, you know, is this person ACC, PCC, or MCC? Am I correct on this?
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
So that's kind of like an algorithm that you basically have that you guide yourself by. I'm thinking out loud because this actually can be turned, even though I know some people will hate me for saying this, but this right here, we're using artificial intelligence, can actually be used to create a system that simply by observing the session, then in the end can give you an automated assessment of the coach, how the coach performed and which one of the levels is the coach part of. So there'll be no bias. Like, oh, I was in a bad mood, me as the assessor, and then I put you in the ACC box rather than MCC box.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what we do. Actually, you know, we have NSCF is working on making it better and better, and we consistently have to go through trainings, and they're creating all kinds of different computerized systems. Yeah, it's all computerized, and but of course, the evaluator needs to be a human being, because
Yeah.
some of those things will always remain to be subjective to a certain extent, because it's an art form, right? So you can't judge a ballet dance by a robot. A robot, a machine is not going to be able to fully understand everything that it needs to understand. And as a matter of fact, speaking about that, you can paint by connecting dots.
Yes.
Right? And
Correct.
it doesn't, the result is not really, I mean, it's okay, but you will kind of know that that's all. It's just, it's not going to have soul. It's not going to have that individual touch that MCC level usually does have. And of course you can learn it at a kind of robotic level, but it will always leave you at being an okay type of coach versus becoming good or great coach. And that's a big difference.
Yeah.
So that type of curiosity. And so you were asking me, how will I know? And I said questions. And I think this is also kind of reminds me of how every single competency is connected. So usually if you fail in one competency, you will fail in some other competencies. Usually if you win in one competency, it's going to echo and positively affect other competencies as well. Everything is it's just, they're inseparable, really. I mean, we're only separating them for purpose of assessment and a purpose of learning and teaching. But in real life, when you're listening to a coaching session, they mingle. They're it's a chorus, right? And so,
So there's a lot of work for you as an assessor of the coaching capabilities of a person, and I would say even coaching, I don't know, inclination of a coach, right?
I'm sorry, again.
So I said there is a lot of work and there is a lot of artistry, even I would say, on you as an assessor. There is a lot of work on you, on your part, to be able to sift through all of the dialogue and all of the conversation that goes on between the coach and the client, in order for you to be able to assess at which level they are up. Basically, that's what I'm saying. It takes a lot of effort. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. I have to say that I've been doing it since 2008. And the process has changed a lot because when I started doing it, we didn't require transcripts. We were just getting recordings. Before that, it was even worse. Two assessors would show up live, and we would take and one of them would be coached on the phone by the applicant. So the system had been evolving throughout the years and throughout the time, and having a transcript helps a great deal, because sometimes I'm not sure what did I hear, was the competency used or not used, to what extent, and a transcript with a timestamp allows me to get quicker to what I need to double check. But it's a very tedious work, absolutely. It's not easy, sure.
And you were saying something earlier about you're actually paying attention to the coach, not what the client answers to the coach. But there is kind of like a dance going on there, right? Because like the coach can say something, and then the client responds to what the coach says. And then you can also gauge your assessment of the coach based on the coach's reaction or response to the client's behavior, correct?
And that brings me to active listening.
Yay! All right.
All right. So how you listen. So it's not what the client does or says. It's how you respond to what you hear. And so if a client says something or does something and you ignore it, as a coach, right? If a coach ignores it, or if a coach asks the question that's not appropriate or not timely, and sometimes people will do that, coaches will do that because they want to hit all the markers, and ironically, they miss the markers because they're not listening. So sometimes they're like, okay, you know what? It's time for me to ask what's important about this topic. And the client may have already shared 5 times over what's important to him or her about this topic. But okay, well, you know what, this isn't my script. I know this is an important question. I didn't get to ask it before. I'm going to ask it now. And you actually can be marked for not listening, you know, depending on what you ask and when you ask. So active listening is extremely important. And active listening will show me if you're present. And speaking about coaching presence, how can you be listening and not be present? Right? It's just not, it's not possible.
So that being said, then this raises another question. At what point, like how often or after what time, after somebody has been finishing their coaching training, how much time later can they, you know, take an assessment and figure out which, you know, which type of coach are they? Like, I finished the training today, then can I take this assessment 6 months down the road, you know, 6 years down the road? Where, how does that work out?
Well, I must say that it depends on the training. So our training, like as if I asked you to do this, to ask me this question. But
I'm sorry, why?
Our training based on interactivity. People do not learn by listening to lectures. They just don't learn from listening to lectures. They don't even learn from watching demonstrations as much as we would hope them to learn, simply because you can't retain all of that so quickly. So how do we learn? We'll literally learn by making mistakes. We'll learn by doing. We'll learn when someone can hold our hand, someone who knows how to do this, whatever it is that you want to learn really well, and say, well, this is amazing. Keep doing exactly that. Don't change anything. But this right here, try it this way and see how it feels. And that's how we learn, because otherwise we have no point of reference. And even when you learn a little bit, you may not have enough awareness of what's actually happening during the coaching session unless you have someone who is watching. And what my school uses, we actually have, we use forward learning method, which means that forward learning method.
Forward learning, okay.
Forward learning method. And I've learned it, no pun intended, I've learned it when I was teaching at NYU. And so they were using it a lot, which means, and all it means is that your homework is given to you not after the lesson, but before the lesson.
Ah, very interesting.
Right. So when our students come to a live Zoom environment, they already studied all the last lectures. They already heard the lectures, and we can start every single lesson by asking, what questions do you have? And after we answer the questions, we still have 2 full hours to actually practice. And that's the beauty of the training, that can allow this amount of time with an MCC or at least PCC coach, who can hold your hand and show you what to do, where you can have the advantage of doing full coaching sessions versus just a few minutes at a time. When I was teaching at NYU, by the way, I had, in my foundational classes, I had like 42 people. And can you imagine pairing 42 people into pairs of students and then having them practice? And I was like literally hovering like a butterfly, like a little birdie, from one desk to another. And I could only listen maybe for, a minute at best to each pairs, and what can you, I mean, I did my best, but you can get a lot out of that versus when you actually do a full coaching session. So depending on your training, you got to be really careful what training you choose, because I mean, just like with any other training, that's no different. Any other industry, everything, it all depends on, it all starts with your training, right? No matter who you want to become, who you want to be in life, what do you want to learn, it starts with learning, right?
Yeah.
And is important. It's just really important how you're being taught and who you're being taught by.
Yeah, I love that concept. That's an excellent concept to play with. I guess some people would actually be I don't know, apprehensive of that, because it's like, if I already gave them the homework, so to speak, and they already submitted, then what am I going to teach when the class goes live, right?
Well, you see that me and our teachers, we're never, we can always talk, and I think it's much more impactful to answer questions, because like right now you're listening to me and you have questions as we go along. So if you would be in my class, maybe you would have had questions after listening to an audio. Some things we do live in class, some things that are more important we do in class, right? And so after responding to that, one of the students said something really interesting about me, and I was just thinking, is this a compliment or the other way around, And so she said she was recommending me to someone, and she said, "You can't hide from Marianna." You can't hide from Marianna, right? And I'm like, okay, right? But when you have a small class, and when the class is friendly, and when everyone makes mistakes, it doesn't feel like a big deal for a while. You're gonna get used to it, and that's the best. And honestly, I say it's better that you're feeling a little uncomfortable in your class than later on feeling uncomfortable with the real clients who pay for your services, right? And I say that one thing you will never be wondering is what I'm thinking. I will tell you what I'm thinking, and then you'll be able to move forward. So yeah, active listening. How are we doing?
Very important. So we still got about 5 minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes. So what's more important about all of this that I would 5 minutes. So powerful questioning, maybe, because how do I know if they're listening or not? How do I know if they trust is created? It's all about what they actually ask, what coaches ask, and what they say to the clients. So when a coach is using clients' language, when the coach is using clients' metaphors, when the coach is responsive in the moment, when the questions are open-ended and asked one at a time, then those are good coaching behaviors, right?
And when the coach is silent sometimes, right?
Well, silence is golden, right? I mean, silence is golden. As a matter of fact, you're asking me what to do when people get anxiety and feeling uncomfortable in trusting themselves. How do you trust yourself and be comfortable not knowing? Well, that's one of those things to say, if you just keep quiet, you will see that it brings value. It brings value, and it will allow you to create the space not only for the client, but also for yourself. Remember that you're just as important as a client, because you are 50% of the equation and the client is the other 50. So, but they're coming into your space, right? So you are the one who's providing services. So it's really our job to provide the space. And so powerful questions can only arise when you are in the space that you've already created. If you're half listening, if you have anxiety going on, you won't be able to deeply listen. If you won't be able to deeply listen, you won't be able to ask good questions. It's just so connected together. It's just inseparable.
Beautiful.
Right? And direct communication is it's a very interesting. So right now, powerful questioning and direct communication skills, coaching behavior are under creating awareness, because honestly, they are the tools that bring more awareness. So I agree with that change, but behaviors remain the same. So that's why we're still using this table, just to define the coaching behaviors. And so direct communication. So I always say direct, it doesn't mean, so providing direct communication is not the same as being directive. So we're not directing anything, but direct communication is simply providing feedback in a coaching manner, sharing your perspective. And I think that there are so many coaches who are afraid to share their opinion because they think that they're just going to go immediately into ICF kind of prison and be kind of punished because we're not supposed to provide suggestions, we're not supposed to provide advice, but sharing your perspective is extremely useful, and it's not the same. It's actually very different than providing advice or suggestion. And there's a way to learn how to do it correctly. And so I know we're running out of time. I'm not going to explain how to do it, but it's about doing it in a way that speaks to a perspective versus I think that you should do this or you should do that.
Speaks to what?
So instead of saying to a client, you should do this, or have you thought of doing that, right? We are providing a perspective that that could be a universal perspective, right? And then the client can decide if it fits them or how it fits them, or maybe not at all. Without any attachment. And there's a lot of learning curves to that, because that's also something that I haven't heard done in any other profession. So 2 competencies that are not done anywhere else other than in coaching is direct communication, providing feedback in a coaching way, and creating coaching agreement. But I do believe that creating coaching agreement is kind of an identifier. It's almost okay, this what really separates coaching from every other industry that is helping industry. And so I know we're out of time, but so creating awareness is really a result, right? It's what happens when you as a coach listen well, when you're present, when you're asking good questions, timely questions, and those type of questions create awareness. One thing I can actually underscore here is that the coach at an MCC level doesn't force anything. We don't force awareness. We just allow it to evolve. And actions, I have to say that actions and planning and managing progress and accountability, I think those are the easiest things to understand and to follow through. I think that we never have issues explaining and having students follow through with those competencies. And I find that the most challenging competencies are the ones that I just described above.
Awesome. Got it. Marianna, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much for sharing all this wonderful knowledge and information with us. I'm going to stop the screen sharing so we can have you up on screen. So now I know that a lot of people who are watching this presentation, coaches or people who would like to become coaches, they got a lot of questions and they would like to know more. Where can people get in touch with you? How can they reach out to you? You know, your website, your email address. Do you have a program that you're running?
So we have all levels through ICF, right? So we have level 1, level 2, level 3. Of course, we still have ACSTH and ACTP. So we have all of these different programs available on our website. The website is goalimagery.com. But you know what? You can contact me if you're interested. You can contact me directly I'm not hiding behind anything, through WhatsApp. And so no matter where you are, because we're a truly international company, and we have, as Eugen said before, we do train people even in different languages we teach.
Yeah.
But mostly, of course, we teach in English. Contact me through WhatsApp, no matter where you are. If you use WhatsApp at +1, stands for USA, +1 917 371 9713, and this way you go directly to me versus to my assistant. But if you want to email me, you can email me, and then my assistant will respond and schedule an appointment for us. Will it be possible to share my email address somehow with the listeners, or not?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay. So should I say it, or
yeah, we'll also put it on the on the site, but of course, yeah, you can say it, and we will have it on screen as well.
Yes, so I think that you probably, I don't know if they see Goal Imagery Institute at the bottom of my screen, where instead of my name, I just didn't change it. And so that's the name of the school. You can email us.
Just say your email address if you want to share it.
Yeah, sure.
Is it marianna@gmail.com or?
So the email address, yes, it's yes, my personal is yes, Marianna@goalimagery.com.
Okay, Marianna@goalimagery.com, yeah?
Marianna@goalimagery.com, double N.
Mm-hmm. Super. So everyone, if you want to get in touch with Marianna, that's where you should get in touch with her at Marianna@goalimagery.com. Email her or reach out to her on social media. I think I got in touch with you on LinkedIn, right?
That's true, yes. And so, and my yeah, I'm going to put my my WhatsApp number. You can directly connect with me.
All right, awesome. So everyone, thank you so much, Marianna, for this wonderful presentation. I'm very happy we managed to have you present for our event. Everyone, we will take a quick break now, and we'll see you after the presentation, or we'll see you tomorrow, depends which comes first. Stay tuned, stay happy, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening.